just to go to our final topic of the day for me today, and that is the former Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, saying that the government should change the Equality Act to ensure the rights of women are properly protected by the law. The production team wrote the words biological women, but we know what a woman is. There's only one kind. Women. So joining me right now to discuss this is Maya Forstater. She's Executive Director of Sex Matters and joins us now. Hello, Maya. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, Julia.
I really appreciate it. There's lots more other things I want to talk to you about, but about this. Why does the Equality Act need changing?
Because it's become confused. The Equality Act defines the protected characteristic of sex as being a man or a woman, male or female. But because of the Gender Recognition Act, which has allowed about 5,000 people to get a certificate saying that they are the opposite sex, everyone has got confused about what the protected characteristic of sex means in the Equality Act. And that has knock-on effects for women's services, sports, things like searching by the police or examination by a doctor, anything where you're dealing with officialdom and you want to be able to say, I'm a woman, I'm expecting a single-sex service, they've all become completely confused, and the law, it needs to go back to Parliament. The law needs to sort it out.
Well, I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? Because then people talk about the difference between gender and sex, and the gender you can identify. You can identify as whatever you want, but you don't get to identify your biological sex. You are that. It's not assigned at birth. It's what you are, and it's what you are for your entire life. But the gender recognition certificates, you say about 5,000 people have those. I mean, again, they became a big issue, didn't they, in Scotland about, a 16-year-old being able to do it without even, seeing a doctor. But someone getting a gender recognition certificate that basically have changed sex. Is it that they've changed sex rather than gender? Because, we've got this issue with India Willoughby threatening to the police, J.K. Rowling, for saying that India Willoughby, who is a man and lives as if he was a woman, but is a man, saying, well, no, actually, legally, I'm a woman. I've got a birth certificate saying it. I've got a passport saying it. I'm a woman. So what is the legal status there?
Well, I mean, of course, they haven't changed sex. You and I both know people can't change sex, whether they have plastic surgery or not, or take hormones or not. But they do have a piece of paper that has been issued by the government that says it changes their sex for all purposes. And that means all legal purposes. But in fact, it doesn't even mean all legal purposes, because for the purpose of taking a peerage, for example, or for sex crimes, it goes back to your actual sex, and also for being a mother or father, it goes back to your actual sex. So it's really not clear what for all purposes means.
It would be much clearer if people couldn't change any official documentation. Now, I was very supportive of this at the time, when it was sort of the idea that someone who, had gone through lots of surgery, if they complete appearances, if they were a man that was living as a woman and a trans woman and genuinely did appear to be a woman, and then, you're in passport control in a foreign country, like what prison you'd get into. I always felt very supportive of that. And then, of course, we've seen the explosion of people claiming this right. And it's no longer people who we would feel very sympathetic and respectful and kind towards. It's people, frankly, taking the mick and using it as a cunning way of getting out of a harder prison and pretending that they think that they're women to try and get off, violent sex crimes and the like. It's been exploited. Does that not mean we should just get rid of it entirely?
I think there's a good argument for that. I mean, I think we can't distinguish between people that we feel personal sympathy for and people we think are taking the mick. The basic question is, are people male or are they female? And that can't change. And then, as you say, there are people who dress differently. There are people who change their name, change their hairstyle, may have plastic surgery. They may feel very genuine about it, or they may not. Who am I to judge? And those people should definitely be able to get on a plane. They should definitely be able to have a passport. They should be able to go to a hospital. They should be able to get a job. They should be able to do all of those things. But that doesn't mean that they've changed sex. And so either, as you say, we have to get rid of the whole thing, or we have to find ways to to see through this legal fiction, because what it
Yeah.
is a legal fiction.
And
And for
that is the
example,
key
it
thing,
allows
isn't it?
somebody to get married in that sex.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to take away a legal fiction when you've allowed someone to get married. But the point is, when it relates to other people and other people's privacy and dignity, we have to be able to look through the legal fiction.
Yeah, and again, not privacy and dignity, but also even their safety in terms of access to, say, women's shelters, women's prison places, and the like. We did have, look, I still find this unbelievably frustrating. We're still in this madness of, when people talk about gender-critical feminists. No, people who understand facts and know. I don't believe that a trans woman is a woman. As a man, I know this is a fact. But I mean, we've had some victories this week. The puberty blockers decision by NHS England. In England, patients under 18 are not going to be able to be given puberty blockers, apart from clinical research. Still a bit unhappy about that. We've had enough clinical research. We know they're dangerous. We know they're harmful. They don't make people happier. They should not be prescribed to any child, in my view, at all. I'm pretty concerned about them being prescribed to adults as well, under false pretenses. But do you think this is... We are sort of, if not at the beginning of the end, we're at the end of the beginning in this fight back for sanity?
Yes, I think this is hugely significant. Both the NHS move and also the schools guidance, which is saying that teachers shouldn't treat children as having changed sex, are hugely significant, because these are experiments that have been played out on our children without evidence, and that is now clear, and it's caused harm. And so unpicking that from the National Health Service, from the schools and education, is going to be a huge job, but it's definitely the end of the beginning.
Yeah, except we still have things in the NHS in England where, they have issue statements, leaflets and advice online saying things like, menopause doesn't only affect women, unless we're talking about men having a midlife crisis. If you're talking about the flushes and the end of your periods, yeah, it only affects women. But they still push this mad ideology that is medically and scientifically untrue.
Yes, I mean, it's an organization of 2 million people, and this ideology is seeped throughout it. So you have the minister saying the NHS should use clear sex-based language, but you have activists within the NHS are still going to be pushing this. They're still going to be pushing, women and birthing people,
Yeah.
and men can get pregnant, and all of that nonsense. And that really has to go. Institutions should be inclusive of people who have all kinds of beliefs and mental health issues and lifestyles, but that doesn't mean they should throw out the word woman, which is very clear.
And I don't mind at the end of a leaflet about prostate cancer, and if you're living as a trans woman, you need to get your prostate checked, and if you're living as a trans man, yeah, by the way, you need to go and get your cervical smear.
Absolutely.
But that's fact-based stuff. I mean, do you think we are going to get to the point when, we're actually going to win this, or we've got new extremism definition? We're told it won't apply to women like you and me, or indeed to the trans activists, the trans ideologist activists who have made life hell for an awful lot of women. But I don't know, under a Labour government, it could happen.
I'm quite worried about that. But on the other hand, I do think things go out of fashion, and things that children are now looking at non-binary and laughing at it and saying, this gender's not fluid. And I mean, there'll be another craze along soon, but it may be that it just goes out of fashion.
Yeah. Well, let's just hope it's another craze and social contagion that isn't quite as damaging to our children. You've been a fantastic fighter on this front, Maya Fushton. Thank you so much. Always so good to talk to you.